Hello. All right. Sorry. That's what happens when I screw with things. I meant to look at it, and then I didn't. Ken. Daknaz. How you doing? You unplug a microphone, you do an update, you plug it back in, everything's broken. I should have reset the computer. Nice fusion. Oh my God. Really? Okay, that's really weird. Because I actually have it saved as Durango window tint. Here, let me just put a period on. I actually went through, I did a full description, I saved it, and it said it saved, and then it didn't save. Wow, this is just a whole fun start to a stream, huh? It should be good now. What, this doesn't look like a fusion? Isn't that what we do? We go super hard into it then? Did you ever look into the Gila heat shield? I don't think they claim it to be ceramic. I haven't stopped by AutoZone. But we can stop there right now. Let's check. This is probably a bad idea to do right now. Oh, does it? It does say ceramic. The Extreme Limo. Ultra Shield. Heat Shield. Oh, they have Heat Shield Plus. Shut up. 2-layer construction dyed plus metal. See, that's what I saw. Heat Shield Plus. It doesn't say, that's a metallized film. So 2-layer construction dye plus metal. One advertising dye is hilarious. And metal isn't going to even do as well as carbon will. So Elite Advanced Auto is where I bought it from. All right, let's go there. It's by Gila, right? There's Heat Shield Plus. Maybe it's just not on the site, or it'll take me a little bit to find. Heat Shield Plus. So Heat Shield Plus is a metallized. Activate discounts. No, thank you. We're trying to find your film. Heat Shield Elite. All right, here. Let me do this. 2 seconds. No, go away. You spelled shield wrong. You passed it. Did I? What was it then? All right, we're going to jump into things. Heat shield. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's the red one. Okay. Heat Shield Elite installs in strips. Okay, so this is the short one. I'm sure they've got a taller version. Top performing automotive film. Provides all the benefits, but with the best heat rejection. 2-layer dyed and ceramic construction. 2 layers. One of them is dyed. One of them is ceramic. What does that mean? Oh, man. Yes, they do. Looks like they have a, Gila has a ceramic film. Gila's owned by, it's interesting because Gila's actually owned by Eastman, who owns Lumar. And in the past, we haven't liked Gila film. It's weird for a good film company to just put a piss poor film out. So I guess we'll have to get it. We'll have to get it and try it out. All right, let me put this here. Where can I get the house wrap tape? I just posted a video on the Facebook group. All right, so let's get everything going. And then we got a lot of work to do on this this beautiful fusion here. Durango. And we have a couple things to watch out for. I will post that video in the Facebook group as well. But I'll talk about it in the live stream, obviously. For the first time, I just tinted my front windows 35% 07 Trailblazer. Nice, very nice. How'd it go? Give it a second. There it goes. Perfect. Took me 2 times. Well, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Sometimes it still takes me 2-3 times to get a window right. It's just how it goes. All right, we got the super cool camera on. I think all we have left to do is the microphone. Glad I remembered that. Too many microphones. Let's put this here. Then we're going to load this up. Which one's this plugged into? Did a 22 Camry video on the rear glass, so spot on. Yeah, I saw that post. Nice job, man. Okay, cool. Everything should be good. GoPro. Yay! Look at that. All right, we're off to the races now. Okay, so here we have a brand new Durango. Now, the thing about the Durangos is I actually ran into a problem a couple of years ago on this type of model change. The good news is that was on somebody else's vehicle, so I know how to not run into that on this one. So you'll notice I already went and I popped the seals out. It's a very quick and simple thing on these. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull back on this panel here. You don't have to take out any screws. They just have pop clips right in here. So they snug back in just as hard as they pop back out. And then you just pull up on the seal. Now the reason you're going to want to do that is because when you're installing it the way I do, water trails along down the slope of this channel here, goes straight to a speaker wire and goes right down to a module and then goes and everything goes crazy. So you remove that, water doesn't go down and everything's okay. So little thing that I ran into. It seems like a lot of Dodge, Chrysler products, they all have some sort of weird electronics hiccup that you got to watch out for. You know, it's notoriously the BCMs for the windshields, but for the Durango, it was that. I didn't know I didn't have a problem until I had a problem that one day. But hey, we're past it now. You got your title wrong. No, I changed it. I changed it twice now, and if it doesn't update, then there's nothing I can do. It is what it is. So we're gonna go through, we're gonna tape all the seals. I'm gonna snap a new blade on this. Oh my God, he's bottom loading. No, see, that's the funny thing. Y'all think that just because I pull the seal now means I have to install it differently. I'm still gonna install it the same way. I'm just not gonna have the seal in the way. Which is probably gonna make every bottom loader freak out at me. Why wouldn't you just do it that way? Shut up, I'm gonna do it my way. Ah. Yep, this one's not as good. That's why I like testing things. I found like an all-white roll. Figured I'd give it a try. It didn't seem as good. This is why you gotta get a good house wrap tape. Because the cheesy stuff just doesn't stick as well. In theory, it does the same job, but it's just not as good. We're gonna snap much more. This is live? I sure hope so. Can you at least bottom load one window for the fun of it? What's fun about it? It's just a slightly different way of doing the same thing. It really is one of the, like, there's still a little bit of a skill involved in doing it because you just get used to tucking it in that way. What I don't like about it is how much farther I have to slide the film along the glass. So I still like the way that I install, even though I have the seal taken off of it. What I do is I peel the whole thing, spray it down, and just drop it into the window. But being that we got a windshield to do on top of everything, probably not going to change things up just for kicks and giggles today. If we weren't doing a windshield, then yeah, maybe. But it's not my preferred way of doing it, so. But it's fine if you do it that way. All right, let's pop that down. Oh, probably not, actually. Yeah. That means we're going to lock ourselves out of the car. Five on the side windows? Yeah. So we're doing 20 over the rear, and then we're doing 5 over the front, and then it's all going to blend together. I think that window lock is still on, probably. No? No, it's not? Oh. It just decided to shut off. That's also the fun thing. Oh, I never turned it on. That's right. I had the windows down. The fun thing about doing all these ones is the switch is going to shut off after 20 minutes anyways, and then the radio is going to kick on and demonetize me. Shut up. Thank you. So when you're taping the side seals, just get down as far as you can. Some windows will just stick up a little bit. Like I did a Focus the other day that came up that far still. It's not a big deal. The main point that I always want to make sure is taped is going to be the bulk of where that divider is going to be. So the very top or the very bottom doesn't matter near as much. It's still nice, but it shouldn't be too hard to get the film where you need it to go there. So this edge, and then the majority of this right here is totally fine. So from there, tape that, and then we're gonna start rolling these up. Now I have two GraphTech FC9000 and an FC2. Why do you have 3 plotters? And we're going to close this one so then it's quiet. So this is all good. Oh, I didn't close it enough. It's still dinging. Just couldn't hear it. Okay, let's take that one up. Let's put some tape over this. There's that. So even, especially on a new vehicle like this, rubber seals, it's not even going to be a big deal whether or not you tape them. But most people do say tape felt seals, rubber seals, you don't have to. But rubber seals can still build up over time. So the older they are, the scuzzier they're going to be. So I always just make it a habit at this point, just tape everything. It's not completely necessary, but it doesn't hurt. There we go. Now it's quiet. Why do you tape them? Because it helps keep all the edges cleaner. So when you're tucking the film in the sides, there's lots of trash and buildup, and it doesn't matter how many times you clean the side. So on a new vehicle, you're way less likely to see anything. On a vehicle that's had a year or two worth of road time or longer, it's going to get much worse. And especially when you're new, the more you struggle to tuck the tint into the side seals, that's where it's then going to act like a little vacuum. You're like crunching it on the sides. Little dirt is then feeding back into your pattern. So when you tape, you're just literally covering up those seals and just wrapping all that dirt out of your way. So then you have an easier job making everything nice and clean. Yeah, I gotta hook these up. Just started window tinting about 6 to 7 months. Nice. How's that going? That's why I'm struggling with the contamination. That's part of it. You don't absolutely need to do it, but it definitely helps. All right. So shades. We need the 5%. So we're gonna do 5 on the back. Do I have a short roll of it? Ooh, I do. Oh, I've got a couple. Why am I grabbing a long roll when I can just grab this? It's way better. Rather than taking a long roll that I'm gonna have to put on twice, just don't always have short rolls in the 5, but I do in the carbon. Oh wait, we're not doing carbon. Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm losing my mind. There's been so many lately. This one, I forgot. It's a Pro Classic one, so we got to swap that out, actually. That one. That's what I'm doing. I just put away a bunch of rolls. We're doing... There we go. This one. Gonna trim that end off. 2009 GTI, I keep getting creases on the edge. Been pole shrinking. What am I supposed to look for when doing that? 2009 GTI, that's kind of in the range where people have a lot of problems. I don't remember exactly, like they always say the MK model. I don't remember which one it is, like the MK5 or MK6 or something like that. It's just got a tighter curve. Pole shrinking is your best option. It's hard to see exactly what you're doing when you're pole shrinking. you really don't see a lot of the shrink happening, and then when you let go, it should be tighter to the glass, but you do have to just put a lot more heat in those spots. So you could try changing the split from 50-50 to be a little bit tighter on the bottom. Then you have less film to shrink, but you got more film to shrink on top. So as long as you can knock out the top, then the bottom would be easier. I think that the bottom is where most people have their problems. But when it just comes to some of the harder windows, there's only so much you can do. It's just keep throwing film, keep trying. Watch a lot of little videos. I have a golf video. So look that up. It's not that exact model, but it'll be the same type of thing that I would do. I don't even think I necessarily pull shrink on that one, though. I've seen some local shops here use lighters to shrink fingers. Since I didn't have a geek gun, I gave it a shot. Nice. Almost rage quit the other day because I'm a perfectionist and I wanted it to be super clean. Yep, Tint. Oh, I have it right here. Tint will do that. I worked for my dad's company. And I didn't have time to be a perfectionist. That was a real frustrating thing. So it's like when you have time, you can kind of drive yourself crazy, but then also at the same time, when you get put under pressure to just get lots of cars done, you then have to force yourself to rage quit. Not rage quit. And just kick cars out and like, that's as good as I can do. And that's one reason I have my own studio now. It's a tough thing, man. Everybody's going to come in here and say that's no Ford Fusion. Well, you tell YouTube that, because they won't let me say otherwise. Or do we just gotta lean into it really hard? It definitely is a Fusion. I don't know what you're talking about. This is the new Fusion SUV. That's gonna be the popular thing today, though. We're just gonna come in here and say that like I don't know. Good stuff. Did this shift? I'm gonna make sure. I almost feel like it shifted, but I'm not sure. Oh, interesting. Another thing with laminated windows, be careful here. You'll see here in a second, yeah. The Durango identifies as a Fusion, right? Now we have to worry about what they identify as. So laminated windows are two pieces of glass. I think we learned this in the last Tesla one. See all that? They smush the pieces of glass together, and depending on the quality window, they'll like grind that off nice and clean. So sometimes they're not nice and clean. So when you go to make your top cut, you'll be dragging your knife through that while you're trying to make a cut. You can do that depending on how annoying it is. But if you see it, then just trim it off before you make your cut. That way it's nice and clean. I feel like I'm tinting the same 8 cars. Yeah, that happens all the time. There'll be a super popular type of car in your area, and like everybody will just, it was, when I first started, it was like Fusions, Malibus, and Impalas all day long. They would come, the Impalas, I would say, they always come in herds. It's kind of awesome because they were pretty easy to tint too. Then we get a fair share of like Camrys and stuff, but yeah, you have your same staple cars that like a lot of people, like people in certain categories are very similar. So you just get like certain people that they all start buying this one type of thing, and then they all want to get it tinted, and it's just how it is. I like running my business that way. It can seem a little boring, but the nice part about it is that you know what to expect with it. You're not always getting a curveball thrown at you where everything's different. I see you usually do back windows with the plotter. If you had to, man, you gotta just go back a little bit. Go back a little farther in the videos. Plotters is a long, long topic. Yeah, 100%. I generally tint without them, but it's really the opposite. I do the plotter more to make a couple of windows easier, and also show people what it's like to use a plotter. They've become a real hot topic nowadays. It's actually a war going on in my Facebook group about them. Like, people starting out with them versus, you know, using them for your business versus hand cutting. Like, there's always that like artist pride about it. The only thing that drives me crazy about a plotter is when you don't have good cuts. They're definitely high production tools. They're very helpful to have, but you can't be 100% reliant on it. They're just not that good. They're not that consistent. But they are really good machines. Where do you get the glass cutting board? It came with this building. This is a storm window, so I just ripped the framing off of it, propped it up against the wall. So classified ads are great for that, like Craigslist and Marketplace and stuff, because there's people that are throwing out like big windows. And one person's trashy sliding door is another window tinter's glass board. Because you don't need it to be scratch free. You're gonna ruin the shit out of it, so you might as well pick it up before they throw it away. Otherwise, a new piece of glass is gonna range, I think, it depends on the glass shop, but a big flat piece of glass is kind of expensive. It's gonna be like $500 to $800, I think, for a big sheet. Okay, so we're doing 5 on the front, and if I mess up a window, I have to remind myself that. I just did a focus yesterday, and we did 35 in the front, 20 on the back, messed up one of the windows, redid it in 20, and then kicked myself because it was like, oh shoot, I was supposed to put 35. So 5, and then, where's that roll? We need that 20. This guy right here. Do you think about doing vinyl wrapping? No, not really. When I was relatively new into tinting, sure. Not anymore, though. I mean, you can be a guy that does it all. But what you're going to find is, like, it's just you can't supplement the time. They're all skills. They're going to make similar amounts of money depending on what you charge and how much business that you get. So like if you want to do vinyl, then I'd say specialize in vinyl. It's nice to broaden out a skill set, sure, but it's much better to hire for it instead. Why does this seem light? I want to make sure that this is even. Well, I'm glad I checked. God, this is just becoming such a fun one. This one. We'll save this one for a rainy day. This is 35. Somehow 35 got put in the 20% box. We're just making all sorts of fun times today. But at least we're catching them before it becomes a headache. Really? Come on, come on, come on. There we go. You use the greasy monkey? You mean the squeaky monkey? There, that's all the film for a rainy day that I forget what it is, and then eventually it just gets tossed out. So here, Pro Classic 20. So this is gonna make 5. 20 over factory privacy glass in the 20% range is then gonna meter right around 5%. It makes a really close match. I'd almost say I didn't have my coffee today, but I'm on my second cup of coffee, so I don't have an excuse there. I got here at 8:30 instead of, no, it was 9:30. I got here before 9:30, which is a half hour early. I blame it on that. A lot of rainy days. Yeah, right? I don't even know what all that's from, but it just piles up, and then I forget what it is, and then I throw it out. I put it there like I'm going to actually use it again, because it's still good film, and then I forget. I could mark it, but then I have to dig through patterns. It's just not worth it. I'm in the Facebook group. I wonder if the majority of them hand cut. I'm curious because they detail, but I'm getting into tinting mobile. If a plotter is necessarily, I'm holding off. So a plotter is definitely not necessary, but I think it is a helpful tool because what it does is it takes a major step out of most vehicles. But with most people, it's convenient. And what you're going to end up doing is you're going to use it on so many vehicles, and you're really not going to practice hand cutting, or at least that might happen. Because it's like, I'll learn tomorrow, I'll learn tomorrow, I'll learn tomorrow. And then you come into that vehicle where the patterns just don't match up, and you have to know how to cut it. So you don't have to cut directly on the car. You can do it a number of different ways. You can use a Sharpie. I just use a knife directly on the car because if you use like a Sharpie, you mark your patterns, you got to take them over to a board. There's plenty of people tinting mobile. They don't have a shop. They don't have space. They don't have glass boards, any number of things. So a big reason why I still do things this way, one, it's how I learned how to do everything, was to basically, it's one of the most versatile ways to tint because you can take this anywhere and everywhere. All you need is space to pull in a car, and the rest of it you can knock out. You don't have to worry about, oh, I didn't bring a glass board, or I didn't bring a plotter, or any of that. Everything can be done on the car. Do people usually do 20 in the back when they have factory glass? Most of them do. when somebody has a car, the most popular shade that I install around here, at least this is for my demographic, the most popular shade choice is 20%. So people really, they're just like, oh yeah, the back of mine looks great. I just want to darken up the front to match. Now, when it comes to foreign trucks and SUVs, like, and even some domestic ones are pushing it more now. They're becoming very inconsistent. They'll be anywhere from like 22 to 28. Like, so Toyota pushes pretty light right now. And so it's much harder to match. You can't just say 20%. You got to put like a 35% and have it meter a little darker, or grab a 30% from somebody. But typically the person that wants to darken up the rear just likes a much darker look. And so they'll end up just doing 20 on the back, and then they like it to match, so then they'll do 5 on the front to match. That was definitely more common. Not everybody does it, but it is relatively common. Oh yeah, the knife. So you guys know I was using this one for a long time, and you'll notice the big similarity between the two. They're literally identical. So this is a cheesy plastic knife blade holder. I'm kind of on the look for a better one, but finding at least exactly the same was super cool. So I sell these now on the My Tint Stuff site. And then we preload these with the thin carbon blades. And then we also added the thin carbon blades to the site because it's one of those things that I really, really like and I've been using for a while now. So if you're interested, check them out. But yeah, ever since I've been using the thin blades, and it was really nice at the classes and stuff too. I didn't think they'd make that much of a difference. I've been using stainless for a long time. So the reason for the thin blades is they just make cutting the top edge honestly easier. It's more consistent, it snags less. You'll dull out the blade faster because it's thin, but it's more than good enough to get through the entire car. And they're just super sharp, high quality blades. The plastic blade holder is way less important, but I still like it over a metal holder. For one big reason. Having a plastic edge allows you to push the blade holder up against the tint and hold that tint against the top edge while you're cutting. You can do the same thing with the stainless steel holder, but this can put a groove in your tint, and sometimes I would have that happen. So that's my way of preventing that from happening entirely. So I thought it was going to be really dumb because it's like that was the Black Magic knife holder. And then next thing you know, I'm literally using it on every top edge. All it is a cheesy plastic blade holder, but it's just using any plastic blade holder is going to be really nice for your top edge. So I'm kind of on the I'm on the lookout for a better quality one. It's just all the better quality knives are typically metal. Nobody really invests in making a really high quality plastic one. There is the NT one with cartridge, but I don't like the end of it. That's like the one drawback on that knife holder. So I'm still using the one that I'm using. All right, so let's get these shrunk now. You thought the shank was cheesy? Oh, yeah, and I still do, but I use it all the time. So the right cheesy tool is kind of awesome. GeoShield in Canada? I'd go to geoshieldUSA.com, and you can order it direct from them. They do ship to Canada. I personally don't ship film outside of the U.S. just because even shipping packages outside of the U.S. for me has been super messy. Sometimes, like, so they ship way more. And they can deal with all the headaches that come with that type of stuff. So I'm not going to get into it personally, but they can, so you can still get it. What type of tape do you use for the seals? So I found house wrap tape is the best. And there's a number of different companies that sell it. You can find it in hardware stores and stuff like that. So it's thin, high strength, like high stickiness tape, and it peels very clean. How do you know that you shrunk it enough? Oh, good question. Glad you caught it here. Okay, so what I'm not going to purposefully mess up this window, but I could undershrink this one. So we'll do a little comparison between the two. So, well, I mean, and this one isn't even that curvy, so it's hard to show. Okay, so a properly shrunk one, let me throw that down, let me grab this. You're just looking for it to tighten up. So I say curl, really thought a lot about it. What's happening is when you put heat on that film, it's shrinking together. So this whole area is pulling in. That's why it tensions up like this. So I lock it down to the glass. I leave this part still connected because when it pulls, you want it to still stay somewhat controlled. So you just need it to pull in this area here. So when it pulls, it starts to curve like this. Now, if you over shrink it, it's going to be really difficult. You're going to struggle to get this to lock down. So when you go to squeegee everything on the inside, your fingers it's just going to pull a lot of tension straight back up into the window. So you want to shrink it enough so that, you know, with a little bit of pressure, you get that to lock back down. And then when you pick it back up, it just kind of like hangs there. That's a good amount of shrink on it. If I didn't shrink it enough, then I'm going to have fingers popping up off of the bottom, and I need to tighten it up a little bit more. So in the last class, what we did is I taught people both ways, which I usually show them both ways. But they were shrinking the fingers, and they would still have fingers that popped up on the inside. Because you have film that's still overlapping all the side edges. So if I could get 100% of my film on the window and squeegee it all down, you would then see all those fingers. Being that I have some of it off the door, and then I tack it down, I don't always see every finger that's going to pop up until I get my whole pattern inside on the glass. And then you can really see what's popping up and what's not. So just shrinking the fingers, like some people do this thing they call a double snap. And that's where they shrink the fingers that they see. So shrink those, and then you pick it back up, and what you're going to do is you're going to card this side back down, you're going to card this side back down, leave that air in between, and then re-shrink it, and then it'll tighten up that edge. So it's a way to snap shrink without actually snap shrinking. Yeah, you're just trying to make sure that everything lays smooth at the end of the day. So if you ever have fingers that pop up, you got to do something to force more fingers to pop up, or you got to tighten it up like that. But that's where they're coming from. That's why it's happening. So people will say, I shrunk, and there's still fingers. Well, then just shrink more. Just do it more. All right, so let's take this guy. That's what's happening to me. It's shrunk enough and then fingers pop up. So in that case, pick it back up, lock down one side, lock down the other, and then re-shrink that kind of like airspace there. Or when you're setting up your pattern, push some extra film together and you force bigger fingers to pop up and shrink those, and then you'll fix that problem. All right. Do you have somebody to help talk to clients, or do you talk to them yourself? Right now, because everything's like very by appointment based, I always have enough time to talk to people, and I personally I like it. But like having salespeople is great too, because they have they don't have like a tinter's perspective. Like there's always a lot of like things that I want to say about tinting that just can go over people's heads. Where somebody that doesn't do it can talk about it a little bit more simply, and then just kind of connect on a different level that just makes things easy to understand. So I tend to just over-explain things a lot. Probably like that. See, it's shut off. So it was really funny. We had some sales guys at different stores. So when I was mobile tinter, I'd see a bunch of different companies and how they work. And there were sales guys that had been with different companies for like, 10, 20 years. And they'd be so cocky about their sales, but they wouldn't have very high numbers. And what we found was actually new people were so good at just like having an open mind about what you're trying to tell them. And kind of like, this is the pricing. This is what it is. This is kind of how to explain it. And then they wouldn't know too much about it. And the next thing you know is they're selling tint because they're just very personable. They're good at talking to people. And they know enough, but they don't know everything about it. And that is kind of a good thing. And then they would sell way better than sales guys that had been there for much, much longer. So one of the things I learned early on was really that when I opened up this place, my buddy Nick, he was helping with all the sales and stuff. So he would typically outsell me or just charge more, and I'd be like, how'd you charge that much for it? And he's like, I just said it was better. Oh. He's like, that's what I thought the price was. Oh, okay. Cool. But it was definitely an important thing, because then I get to spend this much time on somebody's car, and at the end of the day, that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be able to set a fair amount of time aside, so I can do a much better job rather than feeling rushed. But yeah, I'm definitely still learning. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I've seen a lot of different businesses. Everybody's is run a little differently. But it was always really cool to see people that are really good at what they do or just very personable. And why did that person call right now? You could have called 2 seconds earlier, right before I peeled it, but right now there's no going back. so we're gonna get this butt right up here. Just gonna try and get this as close as I can. Oh, that's how it always goes. Somebody always inevitably calls when you're right in the middle, like you peel your pattern, like a back glass or something, you pick it up, you go to install it, and then that's when your phone rings. Why then? 10 seconds earlier would have been totally fine. All right, should be good here. Roll this puppy up. See, what did I say? Pulled the seal, still installing it the same way. Cool. Much easier without a seal, though. All right, let's get that tucked in. Should be good. Let's check it out, see what we did. Nice. Is this dark enough? I think so. It looks good. Dang. Yep. Yep, real nice. Thank you. So, on a seal like this, when you pull it, you're not really going to see much dirt, but you still are going to see like some. And that's just what you're keeping out of the film. So, there's still stuff there, even though it's a brand new car. But I mean, on this one, it's way less important than something that's just, 2-3 years older. The older a car gets, the more dirt had time to build up in those seals. So that's why it's nice to do something like that. All right, let's bring everything else over. So I'm gonna let that sit, and then when we go to clean up the rest of the Durango, we'll go ahead and pop the seals back in. What's the plastic you use on the doors? That stuff is called carpet shield. It's a roll of sticky plastic, so you can get really any version of it. What I had hoped was that it would stick to the door panels themselves. What's kind of funny about door panels is that they really made so less things stick to them. Makes sense, because you're going to be driving it for a long time. You want them easy to clean up. So they're made to kind of repel lots of things from potentially sticking to them, and then there can be coatings on them too. So finding something to kind of stick to this area is actually really obnoxious. So the same tape that I use for the seals also sticks to pretty much every door panel. And so I put a line of that down, and then the carpet shield then kind of sticks to here and then keeps a lot of the water off of the panel.
Deanna Schneeberger super chatted $9.99.
Super chat. Is there an alert that's going to pop up anytime? Unless it did and I just didn't hear it yet. Did it pop up? I'm going to see what happened quick. Dina with the 10. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Oh, it did. It did go off. Oh, I'm having a problem with my headset, so I didn't hear it. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, we'll continue. Good timing, though. Right here. I did an update on my, I don't know, my software said it needed an update, and then that's when everything breaks, so. Glad you guys heard it. All right, so let's get this installed. Oh, the WFR reunion? No, I'm not going to make it to, like, any of the events. There's the IWFA that's this month down in Texas. We're not going. We have a big vacation planned for the end of the year. The WFR thing, yeah, I'm not even in that group, so. Definitely not that one. And then there's the tinter battles in January. And our vacation is going to be pretty much December through the very beginning of January. We're going back to the Philippines, and we're just gonna never come back. Nice. Let's roll that back up. What squeegee blade are you using? This one is the hybrid. It's by a company called Fusion. So Sun Distributing, Tint Depot, they both sell it. A lot of people jump to something like the Orange Crush or the Flat Out, which are still really good squeegee blades. But they look at the blue and orange one, and if you look at the marketing for this one, so there's two different durometers here, so two different hardnesses. The blue side's a little bit harder than the orange side, but I'll show you the finish on both of them. They talk, most squeegee companies, they talk in durometer. So it's just, they talk in like how hard the squeegee is, but just like a window film and talk about specs. Like you have to get it, you have to feel it for yourself and see what it's like. Whatever material that they're using for the hybrid is definitely different from all the other ones. It's just better. So, like, I don't even think this is too soft or anything, but for some people, like, it's definitely not the hardest squeegee out there, but I think it's like the best. So they could use the same material and make a harder version, honestly, but some people would probably prefer that. But I like this one a lot. To me, the orange side versus the blue side doesn't really matter. They both kind of feel the same to me. All right, let's clean this up. That's 2. Looking good. So yeah, let me hop over there. I'll grab my other stuff too, because we're going to be going to the other side of the car anyways. I'll show you guys the difference. On all right, so where is it? Here's the Flat Out. So this was one that I used for a long time. This is the Orange Crush. This is a really popular squeegee. And let me wipe this one off. So this one actually has been relatively used. I wonder if I've got it here. I think I can show you on the orange side the most clear. All right, so obviously there's a color difference between the two, but you see that glossy shine there? And then you go to the Orange Crush, and it's just not the same. And same thing for the blue side. Like this one's been used for a while, but it'll have the same type of like glossy sheen to it. So all these injection molded squeegees that they sell, they're just, whatever material that they're using, they're not using the same. And this one's is going to be a different process to make it entirely too. Probably like pour it into a mold. That's how they're going to do like 2 different versions. So I'm assuming they pour like the blue and then they pour the orange on top of it. And then they let it dry. Super nice. I like it a lot. Give it a try. Oh God, I put this in the wrong way. Let me take it out and put it the other way. So this way. Duh. Oh, we missed some tape there, so let's get that on it and continue. I just noticed you use your finger on the squeegee for your right hand, but use your thumb for your left hand. Huh, I never noticed that. I just do whatever's comfortable. I'll probably notice it now, though. All right, let's put that there. Let's get some plastic. Well, for all the little hiccups that we had at the beginning, at least the install is going really nice. There's not too much to worry about with the Durango. It's a bigger vehicle, but it's got pretty friendly seals. Very different from that Tesla that we did, obviously, because these are framed ones, but these are not very tight frame seals. Now you jinx it. Yeah, now I'm never going to squeegee that way ever again. I'm going to pay too much attention. That down. Yeah, so the original problem that I had on a Durango was from the front passenger door. So I take both of them out. The drivers, I don't think the module is even on the drivers. But once you run into an issue like that, just play it safe. So after that happens, the shop took apart the door panel. We saw where the water ran to. They took apart the module. They blew it out. Everything was okay. But it was definitely like a BCM type of freak out. That's like, ooh, that's scary. So that's why I popped these ones out. I haven't done that on any of the other ones. So like similar models will be like the Grand Cherokee, which the seals on the older model Grand Cherokees actually pop out the same way, very easy. So it's a quick thing to do. But I never had a problem on that one. I've tried doing a slight fold like you show as I tuck in the tint to the seals, but after I roll up the window and I go to tuck in the bottom in the seals, the fold in the side doesn't flip down. It's a little hard to understand exactly what's going on there. If you posted a video in the Facebook group, that would help. A lot of this stuff is like, you know, it's really obvious to see what's going wrong when I can actually see it. Over text, it's really difficult. Oh, you know what we should do? If you guys want to tag me in the Facebook group or something like that. How should we do this? We should work out a system. So like if you guys have specific questions and you make a video of that, like one, you can definitely post it in the Facebook group and get a lot of feedback. But catching me on stream, I can actually like look at it and give you like a video play-by-play. So window tint stuff group on Facebook. It's a giant community. So it allows you to also post videos and pictures of problems that you're having, get a lot of feedback from people on what to do, what not to do, what you can change up. Be more than happy to take a look. That's just the best place to do it. So next time it happens, just take a video or take some pictures. Videos are a little bit more thorough though. Okay, so what was that like when you're tucking in the bottom? When I pull the window, tuck the bottom, sides don't fold in. Okay, so I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing here. So right now the sides are flipped up. See that? On both sides, they're kind of flipped up. The reason I do it that way is it doesn't run into the panel, so I fold it. I'd like to fold it inside the other way, but that kind of crunches against the panel and everything. Doing it up this way helps just keep it up out of the way. It's really simple and quick. So then I spray the bottom, and then when I go to pull out the liner here, I kind of like, when I pull this out, just watch what happens. So it goes from here, and then I start tugging at it, and it starts to pull out of the seal a little bit, and I flip it and push the bottom corner in, so now I get it to flip. If it's still flipped upwards, I would just pull it farther out of the seal until you get it to do that little like flip. But rolling them this way helps in your setup for tucking it in the bottom. You'll see here in a second. So then you literally take the tint, like let's say it was like this, literally take the tint, push it up against the glass, keep this little edge flat, pull back your seal, start tucking it into the bottom. That starts running into the panel, jump over here, do the same thing, push up your tint, keep this edge flat, tuck it into the bottom seal here a little bit until really your tint starts running into this panel, and then you're gonna pick it up. Find a flat spot on the glass and underneath where there's a roll, and then press up, and you'll get the whole thing to pick itself up. That starts going above the seal, and now it's just pulling it kind of like down at an angle and always leading with the shank and working that seal back so everything starts to fall in. Like all this is bunched up here. I'm gonna pull back the seal. I'm gonna tighten up this a little bit, pull this over. Now this almost wants to jump into the seal, so pick it up a little bit. Pull that back, and look, now it just falls right back down into the seal there. From there, pull back your seal while you squeegee everything out. That relieves some like air pressure there, so it doesn't just balloon back up on you when you're pressing it. Give it a little swipe, give it a little swipe, easy peasy. Tape. Do you sell pre-cut tint? No. No, it's too much. Blech. I don't like doing kits. Too many little things that can go wrong. And there's a ton of places. If you want to order kits, in Geo actually, there's a company called Tint Zoom that you can order from. They have a site. Make it like it's a lot of options. It just gets really confusing. So if everybody had a Durango, then it'd be really easy because there's only one style of window. But a lot of people that order kits have a truck or an old vehicle, and then it just is a headache and a half to try and figure out all the little things and film type, and window styles, and year model changes, and tint stuff. You can find it at mytintstuff.com, or you can find it at geoshieldUSA.com. You just showed me where I was going wrong. Oh, cool. Yay. Some of those things are a little hard for me to understand exactly where you're at, but cool. Glad we helped you out. Have you ever had the tint mess up when pulling the tape? Where's the new Geo boxes? I'm reminded every time I walk out. We got to put them up. I've said that for like God, it's been too long now. I don't know. They're sitting there. I got to put them up though. No, I haven't had the tape mess up. The tint. Do you have a limit on windshield if somebody wanted 5%? No, I turn it away. I only go as dark as 35, which is actually what we're going to do on here. Anything darker than that, you're getting into some real... Oh, yeah, I got the plastic. Okay, we're good to go. Anything darker than 35, like 35% is a really nice shade, and it darkens it out quite a lot. There's some people that have asked me to do 20, And I just, sometimes it would be fine, but then you inevitably drive it through the rain or something, and it's just really hard to see. Especially later at night. On new vehicles, bright headlights, 35 cuts down a nice amount of glare. And it looks really good. It just sticks out a lot, that's all. So it kind of depends on what you're going for. So on this one, we're doing 35. You'll have to save the old boxes forever. Yeah, and I just had so many in the back that we tossed out before I got the new ones. It looks really good already. Good, glad you like it. All right, so yeah, let's continue this one. Yeah, my favorite look, so 5 was a little dark for me on the front doors. So what I would generally do is 20 on the front doors, 5 on the rear, and then 35 on the windshield. But then every time I drove past a cop, I'd just be a little bit nervous there. So for, God, yeah, these things like to shut off a lot. For family, though, I just do 35 and 50 on the windshield. So it's a nice way of still having like a really clean look. A reasonable amount of shade. And just not worried about getting pulled over for it. Not the same level. There we go, it's nice and clean. Are you responsible? No, the owner of the vehicle, but, just tint responsibly, I guess. I don't like going too far down this type of discussion, but so in Michigan, it's completely legal with a doctor's note. So as a shop, it's like, just assume that you have a doctor's note. But I can't tell you how many times, like, police have definitely, like, gotten their cars. Like, they generally would just go for limo. The laws here have been really, like, okay for a long time. They don't really require any shade percentages, and you can go as dark as you want on the back of any type of vehicle. Some states, they have limits to what you can do on a sedan, but that's also different from what you can do on a SUV, which that to me makes no sense. So, like, some sedans, you can't darken up the back at all, right? Like, nothing darker than 70%. And it's like, wait, what? Really? So then you got to remove everything on the vehicle. In Michigan, it's front doors and the windshield. Everything else is fair game. So it's a weird how every state is different that way. And then they all have their own, like, just whatever the regular state enforcement is. Some care a lot, and a lot of them don't seem to very much. It's just, they want you to drive safe. Drive safe, don't cause problems. Cool. Good. Do people in law enforcement ever tell you they're a cop? Yeah, I've had them be just very blunt and open about it. So at another shop that I've worked for, is actually at my dad's shop. They used to come in and literally like, oh, I want 5% on everything, and they're like, oh, it's kind of dark. Like, are you sure you want to go that dark? Yeah, I'm a cop. And you're like, it's not that. It's actually just dark. I know, I'm a cop. Okay, all right, that's fine, whatever. So, one thing I didn't realize from seeing this whole TikTok craze too was people get a weird impression about tint, and they think however dark a vehicle looks from the outside is what it's like to look through. So we saw this giant TikTok craze blow up where everybody started calling about tint that's clear on the inside but dark on the outside. And I was really confused for a little while on what they were even like. It's like tint's already like that to a point. When you get down to the really low percentages, like with 5%, you're knocking out, 95% of the visible light. That's where that percentage comes from. So, yeah, it's naturally going to be more difficult to see through, but you can still see through it, sitting in it, driving around, easier during the daytime than what it seems like from the outside. So as soon as I close this up, everything's just going to look pitch black because there's no light source coming from the inside. That's why it darkens up so much. All the light source is coming from the outside. So nighttime driving, you still have like street lights and stuff like that, but you do have cabin lights too, and that glare can make it a little bit more challenging. But 15, 20 and up, that's even easier to see through, but they look substantially darker. Here in Vegas, I see a lot of people with their front windshield tinted dark, but drive around with their windows rolled down. Any guess why? I don't know. They like the look of it. And you have nice weather out there, too, so they like to enjoy that. Who knows? And, some people, like, a big reason why anybody gets window tint is going to be privacy. So when you lock up your vehicle, they just don't want people walking up and, like, peeking into it and seeing something sitting there and do a smash and grab. It's just one more deterrent there. Do you have any videos doing a chameleon tint? Yeah, we have a live stream with it. I don't have anything I can recommend, though. Anyone that I've seen in person, I've had problems with. Whether that be, like, they faded, or there was just inconsistencies with the quality and the roll. So manufacturers used to have a handful of different options. Like mirrored films used to be popular. They faded out of style. So as they faded out of style, it didn't make sense to manufacture those things anymore. So what picked up in popularity was then carbon and ceramic, down the road. So they're busy making those types of films. And there's just not the same type of demand for something like a chameleon film. It's definitely grown back in popularity, but so you'll find Chinese suppliers that have their own versions, and the quality is just all over the place. So I wouldn't know how long it'll last until I put it on the glass and then waited for it to sun fade. I've heard they're hard to shrink. They definitely could be. There was one that I had that, if you put too much heat on it, those coatings are a little sensitive, so you just need to shrink them slower and a little differently. But I don't think it was necessarily really hard to shrink. But I've shrunk a whole bajillion types of film, and they all have their own little quirks and stuff, but at the end of the day, a lot of them are similar. One of the least user-friendly films was like if you just try and shrink it, like you're gonna see me shrink this windshield, is 3M crystalline. That stuff actually requires a completely different shrinking technique. Same thing I think for Hooper Optic. They're similar in that too. Do you loosen the door panels when tinting? For the most part, no. This one was a rare exception, but it's for a different reason. I like to leave most vehicles just completely as is, and that's how I learned to tint. So the guy that taught me, he tinted very similar to this. There's a few things that we do differently, but it was very similar overall to this style. And a lot of people that I would run into tinted this way. It was just kind of like the way people tinted around here. And then later on, I found out down south, it's a lot more common to like pull door panels and stuff like that. That'll still happen everywhere now, but it was a lot more popular, I think, down south to learn that way. Have you had to tint an MK8 Volkswagen GTI? Yeah, look at the channel. I don't know exactly what model GTI it was, but I definitely have a video of a GTI. It was a red one. But yeah, that video is going to be as big of a help as I can be with something like that. It's too hard to describe. But it's going to, unfortunately, it's going to look very similar to most other hatches I shrink. They're just a little quirky sometimes. What's the name of the tape you're using on the windshield? Glass-Aid. So, a little story behind this stuff. When you're gonna cut on glass, don't. I mean, you can. It's iffy though. So these blades are the ones that you're gonna wanna get. These are NT cutter stainless steel. These are real high quality blades. These are honestly the best and sharpest that I've found. So you always want to make sure you have a sharp blade. That's rule number one. If it's dull, it's going to drag and it's going to dig into the glass. All blades though are metal, and stainless steel is actually a softer metal. So it's similar to the hardness of glass, so that's why it's safer for cutting on glass. So if you're, we use light pressure, we use a sharp blade, we're careful about it, you're generally not gonna see anything from it, but when you get to the windshield, big pieces of glass that have dark borders, that scratch is white against a black border. So the Glass-Aid tape is so I can cut on that tape without risking putting a gouge all the way through a customer's brand new Durango. And that windshield is going to cost me far more than doing the entire job. on a lot of vehicles, especially now, you have, this one doesn't have it, but on a lot of vehicles now they're putting the camera systems and the ADAS systems are going to be required by, like, I think 2025 or something. Those systems, they need to be calibrated, and it's like $250 cost to get it recalibrated. Usually retails for like $350 plus the cost of replacing the windshield. You're in a windshield for like $800 to over $1,000 on just a standard windshield sometimes nowadays. So yeah, they've gotten like freakishly more expensive. So what was happening to me is, like, you know, you would hear for years, oh yeah, you can cut on glass, you can cut on glass, you can cut on glass. And it's a hard thing to definitively say, but as things happen, oh, I should cover up that a little bit too. Like, glass gets cheaper, glass gets softer, and you have, you know, like, I mean, we saw with a bunch of Teslas, all of a sudden people were scratching the shit out of Teslas. Then, like, they up their quality, but you get lots of replacement glass. Especially somebody only wants to, you know, pay the cheapest price to get a piece of glass on their car. That's going to scratch, and then it's still going to cost me just as much to get a brand new piece of glass in that car. So you never know when you're going to scratch something. So just, there's a number of things that you can do to be safer about it. You don't even have to buy the tape to do it. You could use, I mean, scissors are kind of like annoying to try and make an intricate cut. That's why I still like using a knife. But you can take a little piece of plastic, like hard plastic. So basically like a shirt button is a popular method of doing it. And then what you do is you wedge that in between the film and the glass, and you drag that around so your blade is dug into that piece of plastic, and then you're just shearing the tint off, and that's a perfectly safe way to do it. If you have, like somebody said in chat, if you have a glass board, a Sharpie, just pencil out your pattern, put it on a board, and then cut the whole thing out. This was my way of doing that mobile. And it's just a really nice, efficient way of doing it. So the annoying part is really having to outline the whole window. I'm not a huge fan of that. But what it does do is then mask out exactly where I need to cut. So then cutting it is then way quicker. So instead of holding a light and going on the inside and then going around it, this is a way to both keep it safe and then pick up my speed on the cutting. So it's kind of a nice trade-off there. So that's all set up. I think at this point, we're just going to jump right into doing the windshield, and then we'll knock out the back. A little out of order today. Not that one. Where is it? It'll be up here. This stuff. This stuff right here. So once we outline it, we prep it. Well, prep the outside. I still have the inside to clean. But I'll give it like a once-over, just like I look at it. And if I don't see any stickers or anything major like that, well, like, I mean, anything that might look a little too far out of the ordinary. So it's normal to see a little sticker up here, like an oil change sticker or something. God, this tint just, come on, stick in place for me, please. There we go. Yeah, cutting it out, marking it with a Sharpie. I was actually really surprised the first time I ever saw somebody do that on a door window. I thought everybody cut out door windows very similar to me. Because the beginning always looks the same, and then rather than grabbing a knife, somebody grabbed a Sharpie, and I was like, wait, what? So, but it's actually a really safe, quick, and efficient way to cut out the film, you just have to always have another surface. And that was always the big hang up for me. It's like a big glass board is really nice when you have a shop, but if you don't have a shop, what do? Do you use anything special to prep on the outside, or does it just add water? So I use the same slip solution. You can use glass cleaners. I do squeegee, so I scrub and squeegee the glass. That helps get any grit and road buildup off the glass. So just wiping it with a towel will leave smears behind, and it also can leave little speckles and stuff. The problem with that is really just in the shrinking. So that's one reason I also jumped to using a felt card. So something like this, this will skip over little pieces of dirt and grit. So if you just lazily wiped off a window really quick, you think it's clean, then you go to hard card it. That hard card, if it hits a speck or a piece of sand, it'll rip right through the film. So this will skip over anything if it is there, but I also scrub it down, squeegee it off. How much for the floors? Just this area, it's expensive, but it's not terribly expensive. It's $4 a square foot. So like this area was like 20, I think like 2,800, something like that. Actually, it might be over that. We might be over $3,000. $4. I think it's a 25 by 25 pad at this point. I did it in sections because I came from a home garage, moved that here, and then made it bigger. Is 5% legal? Sure, if you got a doctor's note. I see in Model 3, how much more do you charge for a one-piece rear? So general pricing on a car starts at $290 for all the sides in the rear. When it comes to a Model 3 in the same type of film, it's $650. $650, $750, $850, and then when it comes to doing like adding on the full windshield, it's still like standard pricing added onto that. The windshield's big, but it's not like I don't have to oversize a roll, and it's just like a bigger windshield, so it's not crazy. That back glass really is the crazy part. No, oh wait, 850 in ceramic? Yeah, 650, 750, 850 in ceramic, yep. I definitely know of shops that are charging far more than that. I've never been a hotspot for Tesla owners, though. I think the people that really marketed themselves well in that territory, I was still doing mobile tinting when the Model 3s came on the market. So most of my stuff is in the past couple of years around here. So I think I was a little late to that train, but I've definitely done... I've done a few Model 3s in here and a lot more like Model Ys and Model S's. But those car clubs, they all kind of like the Model 3 crowd or the Tesla crowd, they all like hanging out in similar forum groups, and so whatever shops jumped on that very early, those are the ones getting like all that business. They really are. Model Y, why you charge like your regular car? Oh, Model Y. Yeah, Model Y standard pricing too. I mean, maybe a little bit more for the bigger glass, but it's not really, like, so they're bigger frameless windows, but they're not necessarily, like, harder big frame windows. So for, like, a couple doors compared to a truck, sure, probably a little bit more for it, but not enough to make a huge difference. For the rest of it, it's just a regular hatch, really. Smaller back window, hatch. As long as you're not doing the sunroof, everything else is pretty in line. But when the Model 3 first came out too, I was nervous. I didn't know what we were going to do. I saw that giant piece of glass, and I'm like, how the hell are you supposed to do it? And then that's why I really like my forum group, because there's other people that usually get stuff a little before I do. And then everybody was talking about them. So we all kind of, or they figured out like a really good way to attack it. And now it's, you know, it's still a big window to do, but it's not as scary as when it first came out. How hot to use? Do you run your heat gun? I turn every heat gun up as hot as they go. So the way I just look at heat guns is, yeah, they do have settings and temperature controls. Like, these are the least expensive ones, but I think they get just as hot as the more expensive, as most of the more expensive ones. Most heat guns are about features, not about getting hotter. So they can only pull so much power from the wall. But I turn it all the way up, and the way that I control the heat is with distance. So you notice, like, here towards the edge, I get it really close. When I'm a little farther out, I keep the heat gun a little farther out. So as I need more heat, I just put that heat gun closer, back it off, and like I could keep my hand sitting here, and I'm not gonna burn it, but as soon as I put it really close, that's where I'm gonna burn it. So that's how I just vary my heat. I always want as much heat as I can get at any point in time, just so I can. But if what you're doing on like setting 2 is working good for you, then just keep doing that. You'll get faster, and then you can adjust it. No fear of burning / melting? Well, sure, but you just, like I showed with my hand, you just stay farther away. I mean, the tint is going to burn and melt way faster than anything else will. So I think it's good to do that once in a while, just to like see how fast and how much heat the tint can take. Then you know, rolling into the next window, like inevitably you'll just make that mistake. But rolling into like the next window, like you never know quite how much time you can save until you start pushing things to their limits, and that's when you really start to speed up. Because your mind will tell you one thing on it, and then you'll see somebody do it, and then you'll try it and go like, oh, that works. Cool, I'm gonna do that. I lost the little patch for my, I'm gonna have to carve up a cloth here for a second. My headset, it's got a little rubber pad on it that makes my forehead like dumb itchy. So I'm gonna destroy this thing right here and stick that there. That should work. Canon. So, is it better than having higher CFM? More heat. It's kind of, they're both helpful, but what I've noticed is, like, if you want a little bit more airflow, get the Porter cables. They'll put out the same amount of heat, but I haven't been able to shrink anything faster with more airflow. But you will get the heat gun a little bit closer. If you want to keep it a little bit more broad, then yeah, something like the Porter cable or Craftsman heat gun's kind of a good choice for that. Then from there, you're going all the way up into like the Steinel ones. There, that's better. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? No, it doesn't. Does putting tape over the door seals really make a difference when eliminating contamination? Well, I wouldn't do it on every car if I didn't think it made a difference, because every time I do it, I'm spending money on tape. Yes, it definitely makes a difference. On a car like this, not as much. On the older stuff, definitely. The reason I never taped for the longest time is because all I ever thought to use was painter's tape. I never really went and looked at tape, and then I saw an awesome recommendation for house wrap tape. And this is like, I never knew this stuff existed. So this is just, it looks like packing tape, but it's hyper sticky. It peels clean, and it's still very like waterproof / resistant. So you pull it in, you wrap the seals really quick. It doesn't fall off and get in your way. It's just a really nice thing to do. So if you want, you can roll all the windows down. You can try and wipe towels over and clean the seals. I think you can only clean them so much, but it's just a nice thing to do. Try it. Do one window with it. Do one window without it. And if it doesn't really work for you, then don't do it. I was able to tint for a long time before ever using it, but I noticed, like, you know, you always get those little speck here or there, something like that on the edge, and as soon as I taped it, it pretty much stopped that. I have black towels after I'm done cleaning the seals. Oh yeah, they get disgusting. You guys should have seen the focus I did the other day. It was an older model Focus, really clean, but the seals, the side seals were basically disintegrating. You wipe your finger over it, and then it was just like disgusting. And then like, yeah, like look at this stuff. That's great. Do you have to be certified to use that film? No. No, I don't think any film requires a certification if it's really just buy-ins and territories. Geo is definitely one of the more accessible, better branded films out there. There's some really premium brands that just aren't gonna give you the time of day. Just, you know, and they're not wrong to necessarily do it. It's just they just cater to bigger business. So a shop like mine is only going to put out a couple cars in a day. I can put out more than that if I really want to, but the thing is I don't really want to. Over at my dad's shop, I mean, if we did 2 cars in a day, that was a slow day. They're looking to do like 10 to 15 cars in a day. That's a good day for them. So it's just scale. So those companies are just way more geared to sell, you know, they just want to sell a lot more product. Not so much individual nitpicky people. Turn those into shop rags. Yeah, they pretty much are. Love watching you work, stopping to answer everybody's questions in great detail, correct equipment issues, and still bang out a perfect job in half the time. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. How do you avoid small dust speck on the vertical sides of the windshield? That has been one of the hardest parts about reverse rolling. I just over clean everything. That's as best as I've been able to figure out. Like there's a couple little extra things. So when we go to roll this one in, I'll definitely talk about it. I've got a lot of videos talking about it too. I'll just point them out as we go. A lot of people using Geo because of you. You should make your own film. All right, I got all the respect in the world. Like, yeah, sure, I thought about it at one point. I got all the respect in the world for what it takes to do a film company. It is a lot of work. It's big inventory, big costs, big shipping problems, logistics. If I had a film company, I'd spend too much time on the film company and like no time on the channel. And then the other thing is like you got to take a realistic approach. One reason Geo has has really done so well, especially in the past couple of years, is because they live up to the hype that they're getting. Like, I didn't just pick up any film company. I looked around. I had already tried a ton of different films, and I wanted to find something. Like, at the time, I was using Avery, and I think Avery NR is still a great film. But their upgrade path was just not solid. So when we were looking around, Geo was high up there, and then I was still trying to figure out some other options possibly. But what really swayed me over to them was their carbon line. Carbons for the longest time were in this like, yeah, they're good, but they're still kind of hazy, and I wanted to just have a good carbon film that doesn't look hazy. So their C2 is such a good film, and then they had a really good ceramic and a really good dyed film on the other side of each of that. So it was a really, really good fit at the time. The other side of them that I really appreciate is they give everybody the time of day. So if you are a new installer, you want to start your own business, you've had a film company for a while, like, dude, I keep hearing so many good things about their customer service from everybody. So they, I just help shine a little bit of a light on their company, and then they have to deliver on that, and they are very, very busy with all the problems and stuff that they have to deal with too on their end as far as logistics and shipping, and like, yeah, that's all stuff that I got a lot of respect for what that takes to run. That's not my business. Maybe someday, but not anytime soon. Tried the fold method and the rear windshield. It came out really good, maybe a little better than reverse roll. Oh, nice. Is that like the S fold? It's like where you layer it on top and then you kind of unfold it on the dashboard? I've really what I liked about a reverse roll is how controlled everything is and how smooth you can get it on the glass. But yeah, trying to figure out all the little speckly things, that's always been the headache about it. But I've gotten really good at it at this point, but it's taken a while to get here. Okay, so we're gonna tuck that in. Did we bring the rope? We did. We got a rope, so we're gonna rope this. What's the best method to tint without a heat gun or anything to size the film? Just a paint and a spray solution. The best method is to go buy a knife and a heat gun and stop being such a cheap ass. Like, you're asking, how can I do a good job on my car without getting the right tools to do the job? The answer is to go buy the right tools to do the job, because any other way is just going to be, like, you don't need a lot to tint, but there's a few things that you definitely need. A way to cut it, and a way to shape it to the glass. Try the lighter, yeah. I can't get around touching the glue side to the glue side with the S method. Oh, for me, it's more about the folding, but I see what you mean. So, like, really, if you spray tint, like, I'll do this all the time with windshield strips. It's no big deal. I don't tend to like to touch them together because I'm always worried about dirt on the edges kind of creeping in when you unfold it. But really, when you spray and you have glue on glue, it's not going to stick at all. It's really not. It's just going to separate. It would happen a lot when I installed truck back windows. So, like, one of the, not the 3-piece slider, but the one solid one, you know, when you're getting in there, sometimes it would just stick together. I'd unfold the thing, slap it up there, cut the whole thing out on the inside, do it that way. It's been a while since I've had one of those. Most everybody has 3-piece sliders. But yeah, there's no worries with touching tint to tint. Or the glue to the glue, as long as you spray it. Then it's never gonna stick. Or there, Cash has a good answer. Pay the tinter to do it for you. Yeah, if you don't have the tools to do the job, then go pay somebody to do it. That's exactly right. Because like, if you want, at the end of the day, if you want a good job and you don't really want to learn all the ins and outs of doing it, then yeah, that's where you pay somebody to do it. That goes with everything. I don't want to do my own HVAC. I'll hire a company to do it. I don't want to do my own pavers. I think I'd probably mess those up pretty bad. So I'm hiring this company. All right, so first up, I'll scrape the glass. Scrape it. I used to just scrubby pad it, but inevitably I would run across a windshield where there would be like glue residue from an inspection sticker or something weird that I wouldn't, just something weird like that. So with a scrubby pad, when you wipe it over the glass, you don't feel any of that. With a razor blade, you're knocking anything off, and you can feel when you run into something. Or you just take your hand and wipe it over the glass and look for those things too. I love window tint. But I can't deal with having to remove and replace in New York every year. Yeah, I can respect that. There are also, I would talk to a tint shop, because from what I hear, there's people that pay inspectors or inspection places. It's just what I hear. I don't know. I don't know what this is, but we're definitely gonna take it off as clean as we can. Paper stickers are always a tough bet because they're made to kind of tear apart. But we don't want to put this underneath the film. I bet the shops in New York love the redos every year. Well, honestly, that's what I thought that they would do. And like, how are you going to sell lifetime warranty films and better stuff? But window tint in New York is a very profitable business, even with the laws that they have in place. So I asked that on my stream a while ago, and somebody said the inspectors will just sign off on it. Or you can go to inspection places, and they'll just sign off on it for a fee. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, Pennsylvania, New York, they got really strict laws. So a while ago, I thought Michigan had really bad tint laws. My dad was like, no, Michigan's got one of the best tint laws. I was like, really? And then I looked at what everybody else had, and it's like, oh, shit. Yeah. It's like, you don't really want to stir up the pot here. Nobody carries around a meter. So it's a pass or a fail type of thing, and you can go as dark as you want on the back. So it's just about like the front doors and the windshield. But again, doctor's note cures all in that. That being said, this isn't legal advice. I'm a tinter, not a lawyer. It's for for entertainment purposes only. Anything darker than 70 won't pass in New York. In Hawaii, air safety inspections are required to meter the tint and submit pictures. What the heck? Really? What? You know what's crazy, too, about that? Is, God, what was it? Like, bunch of years in a row now, there's a company, I think A1? They're like the biggest Lumar company, I think, in the United States. They're located in Hawaii. I think they win like Dealer of the Year every year. So like, maybe there's something about ultra strict states and running great businesses. I don't know. But it definitely is not slowing down their business. I had a doctor's note and still got written up for reckless. The state cops are not super tint friendly. If I've ever had, so I got a ticket for my front doors from a state cop, and then see I had a couple of tickets from some city cops, and so I walked into the thing about Michigan too. I mean, I guess not every city, but there's a lot of them that don't write it up as a fix-it ticket. But at the end of the day, they're pretty practical about it. So they just said, hey, you call the courthouse. I asked them first. And they said, yeah, go to the city police, remove the tint, go to the city police. They'll sign off on the ticket, and then it won't cost you any points or any fines. We just want it removed. So pull it off, get it signed off, and then you're fine. Or at least that was the case. So, but I had a state ticket, and they laughed when I walked in and I asked them about it. I said I pulled the tint. And they're like, so? Get out of here. It's like, oh, dang. You guys are not friendly. And then I went over to the city police, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. And they signed off on the state ticket. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Not saying that's a guarantee. Okay, so we're getting into all the fun windshield stuff now. Scrape and squeegee the inside. So I'll follow up with what I did on the outside on the other side, but I forgot. I'll mention it on the other side. Best way to peel the tint. On these, you can just flick the corner and get it to peel. Sometimes it's a little tricky to do. Nick, what's up? That's the Nick that would help with all the sales. He was good at selling. All right, we'll go to the other side and explain kind of what just happened here. But for setting up the reverse roll, I've become a nut about all the little speckles and stuff because sometimes they would surprise me where they popped up. So I try and do absolutely everything that I can to ensure that doesn't happen anymore. So one thing I'll do is I'll pick up the film, I'll spray underneath it. This I think is a little excessive. We clean the glass, we put the dry shrink prep on it, and then I just wet underneath it because what I'm also going to do is this has been sitting here for a while. I'm going to take this big squeegee and I'm going to go over the outside, and I'm basically just going to squeegee off any dust that might be settling on the outside from the card while we were shrinking it, the glass just sitting here. Then that water then helps squeegee the underside of it too. Just helps clean up the edges and stuff without having it be too much work. Wipe off all the sides. Then I'm going to peel my film. So you grab the corner, you peel it out about this far at an angle. This is just like a little way that I figured out how to keep everything really controlled. And then you pick it up from the corner and then just pick up the rest of it, meet it halfway. When it's got all these little intricate cutouts, it gets a little bit funny. So we'll do it a little, we're gonna put this back down and we'll peel that corner separate. And then you just lay the liner right back on the film, and then hopefully it should be all nice and clean. Got it. These extra ones, Dodge is really funny for this. I don't think I'm gonna be able to just peel this though. So we'll probably just tackle this on the inside. I was just gonna keep going. I usually do, and then I peel off whatever is in the center. But I think we're just gonna have to leave that one be, or maybe we can do this for a sec. There we go. Ha, I got it. There we go. So we'll peel this back, spray this little guy too. That way everything peels nice and smoothly on the inside. So from here, the inside's clean, we're all ready to go. You can do this opposite. So if you want to clean your glass after you roll up your tint, that's totally fine. I just clean it, spray it, and then I like to just go. So we're gonna roll this up, wet the outside, roll this film up, just go from one side to the other. You get about halfway and just pick it up off the window and just roll the whole thing up like a poster. So this is the part I really like about this whole process. It's very just easygoing and controlled. So you literally roll the entire thing up. You get to the end here, and then the magic of this is you grab that liner any which way that you can. So usually on a good corner or something, but ugh. There we go, I got it. Okay, so you separate that liner, so you stick it to the film, and then you peel that tint away from that liner, and now the liner is clinging to the opposite side as you're unrolling it. So one of the little adjustments that I've made, small one, but I try and be pretty conscious about this, is I unroll a little bit of film, I reach over, I get it as in place as I possibly can without being too rough on anything. So if it looks like I'm gonna struggle tucking it into the corner, I'll just start unrolling some extra film first. That one went okay. So, and then I'm gonna start unrolling the pattern, but I'm never gonna try and touch the roll to the glass. I'm just gonna try and keep it offset from it. So I get some of this unrolled. There we go. Just be really smooth about it. The more in place that the roll and everything is, the easier this is gonna just unroll right to the glass. And then at any point, you can start pulling this liner off, and then using that as a tool to then help unroll the rest of the film. So, freshen it up a little bit. So if you get everything spot on, it's really straightforward and easy. I usually have to, it starts walking away a little bit and I have to tuck it in an edge or something. So the other part I would get really hung up at is this edge. So I'd unroll it into this edge, and this liner would get all bunched up in these corners. So one thing that I do is I hold it flat, make sure there's no like hard creases or anything, like anywhere that I can pull a crease into it. Let it drop away from the glass, and I unroll it nice and smoothly, throw the liner away, and then I can tuck this film right onto the glass and it's way more controlled. So hopefully all those little things combined, yeah, and then you cross your fingers really hard. That's another thing. You pray to the tint gods and cross your fingers really hard. Because it's all, you're guessing. You're like, I did everything right. Or you did everything you thought was right, and then you just hope that it turned out well. So hopefully that's the case here. If there's, you know, a bigger speck or a hair, you can rinse that kind of stuff out. You just try not to get any of it, though. So when you start to squeegee all this out, you don't have a lot of time to wait. So I start in the center, work my way out, and just put some medium pressure on it and work everything out from the center in kind of like a ripple pattern. So don't just go and squeegee up here and then push water back over that and push. It's just like start in the middle and just press everything out. Like I got all this together, I got all this, I got all this, and then you just keep going, right? Push everything down towards the bottom, out the bottom. Try and basically stretch that film as nicely as you can, basically over the entire, I got a couple little ones here. Stretch the film as nicely as you can, basically over the entire piece of glass. There, that guy. Couple little. Much better. Squeegee everything out. So I squeegee as much out as I can get to and see from this spot. And once I do that, I'll go over it one more time. Just and then press a little more pressure and just do nice even passes. That for this I'm getting the bulk of the water out, or like any leftover. Big water pockets or areas that I miss, put a lot of even pressure, and just do nice clean passes. So if I let this sit for another like 10-15 minutes and then tried to do that, all that glue is then tacked up against the glass and you're gonna ruin it. So just right away, give it another couple even passes. Always be on the lookout for anything that might be stuck in the film. And just do your best. So from there, cool, that can go up now. This is all going up against the dots. So that's nice. From there, before I pull the towel out and everything, I want to check it again. So I'm going to spray the whole thing down. We put that prep over the windshield, and I just want to clean it off and get a nice view at the whole thing without anything on the glass. And then if that looks all good, then I'll clean off the inside. I'll peel out the towel and wipe it all down, and then everything will be good to go on the windshield. I haven't seen anything major. So this scrubby and squeegee, this is how I prep it at the beginning. So I do the same thing. It's just rather than smear a bunch of towels all over it, it's just quicker and cleaner to just scrub it down, work all that off, and then just squeegee it dry. That foamy thing is satisfying. Yeah, it is and slightly nerve-wracking. Oh yeah, there's soap in there. That's what it is. It's a good degreaser too. So like you put like a greasy material over the outside, and then you scrub it off and wipe it off, and it makes everything nice and clean. I'll still go over it with a towel though, but you're talking about wiping off any like little smears and stuff. This does mostly a good job, but when it starts to wear out, it starts to do that. So the nerve-wracking part is just, with every pass, you're like, is it good? I can't completely see it. So that's where you want to just, take a step back, breathe, cross your fingers, give it a good once over, make sure that there's no dirt spots and hairs. That's what I'm checking for at this point. Nice. Yeah, this looks good. I'm pretty dang happy with it. Looks like all that work paid off. The worst is when you get to this point and then you just have something unforgivable in your tint and you just got to peel the whole thing off and start over. You're literally starting from the beginning. And that does happen. It's hard to say why, but sometimes it does. That's what makes tint so frustrating. Probably got to change a battery out. I just became a pop to a 9-pound, 15-ounce grandson. Oh, congrats, man. You're a grandpa now. You're old. If there was a hair or anything in the middle, would you peel it off and flush it? Yeah, I'd definitely try to. It depends on what it is. So, if it was like a lot of scattered dirt, then you can't get that out. You're just going to start over. If it's like a bigger hair, actually even like a little one, I prefer them to be like if it's a bigger thing, it's easier to take care of because it's really easy to see. And then you can just like feel it and work it out of the film, spray it down, squeeze it off. And as long as you were careful, usually it's okay. When it's in the center, that's when things get really tough to touch up like that. In a corner, it's a lot easier. So if I gotta pull all this film back and get all the way to here, it's a nightmare. It's not fun. So from here, we're gonna try and pull this stuff out. Be careful of the corners. So if you have a really tight dashboard, that rope is gonna pull up on the film and you can pull the film back because the film hasn't been drying for that long. So you just wanna make sure that you can hold it down with a card, something, just pull all this stuff back out. I feel like I have a razor blade in there. That's dangerous. Only 49, so not so old. No, you're grandpa. That's automatically old now. Congrats, man, that's awesome. All right, so we got the, probably just a little touch up on that, nothing major. We got the rest of the back to do. So I did things a little bit out of order, but we still got the back glass and 3/4 to do. So let me swap out this battery because it's probably a good time to do that. Canon. There we go. Ugh. That's fun. All right, let me swap out this battery quick. Oh yeah, it's got 2. It's not too bad, but let's still change it. Why not? So is that 70 on the windscreen? I was gonna do my whole windows in 70, but it looks a little lighter than that. No, this is 35. Just wait until we close up those doors. So you're looking right now through 35, and both of these doors are open. This is what it's gonna be. So once I close all this up, it's gonna be dark. Is 35 the lightest? No, it's the darkest that'll go on a windshield. So the higher the number, the lighter the film. So 70% would be pretty dang clear. I just did one on a car though. 70 is a nice way to have a clear ceramic film and block out a lot of heat without having a dark look. That's why people get it. And that. There we go. Let's throw this beautiful thing back on. How much easier would you say is the shrinking process with the brand you use compared to Avery? Avery NR and NR Pro were a little bit more difficult, and like they were great shrinking films. The only way to describe it though is like I would constantly have to straighten out the film a little bit more because the lines, like, so I'll make vertical lines and then Avery would start to make them turn like this, so I'd constantly have to straighten them out a little bit, but it still shrunk very fine. Geo is just very consistent and smooth throughout the entire thing, and I don't have to adjust it quite that much, but it's a small difference. Avery was still a good shrinking film. Your opinion on Global? I hear a lot of good things about Global. A lot of good things. I haven't used it, but Geo, Expel, and a bunch of other brands are going to be very similar to Global. Do you ever get any complaints on the overspray? Not really complaints. Like, so when I was working for like a high volume shop, yeah, every once in a while somebody would be upset about all the soap marks on their car, you know, because they just got a new car, they bring it in, it's tinted, and now it looks like messy, right? Well, the thing is, I don't want to be responsible for your paint. That's why I don't touch it. There's already a number of minor defects out of the factory, which is why paint corrections is such a big business. And, you know, even if you've only been, you wash your car the day before you bring it in, there's already going to be like a layer of dust and buildup on it. There's no way around it. So the overspray, if you want to take it upon yourself to like wash every car, then that's fine. That's up to you. I just tell people you're more than welcome to run it through a wash. It's just part of the process. Things are going to get overspray. It's not going to damage the paint. It's not going to hurt it. The most I've had to do is like somebody had a ceramic coating, and they're just like, yeah, instead of just putting it out into the sun, if you wouldn't mind just rinsing it off for me and leaving it inside, like that's not a big deal. I just don't want to be, you know, have somebody come in, they haven't gotten their car washed in a little while. I go to clean it, and then all of a sudden they see a scratch on their paint or something, and now we're arguing about paint. Because, like, I wanted to make their vehicle look nicer, and then they saw a scratch that they never saw before, right? I just touch the windows, and I'm just careful about everything I do on the interior. But, yeah. High production is really where I would possibly run into that more than not. Or, like, at all, really. But it was, you know. Most people, I think, are pretty reasonable. But you do have those, like, irate people that's hard to, like, you know, they brought it in, they don't want anybody touching their car. And then, like, okay, well, I'm not a miracle worker. I have to touch your car in order to use it or in order to tint it. There was one guy with his GTO, I remember. He swore up and down that we were gonna drag race it in the back of the shop. So he was like, I want to pull it in the shop, and then I'm gonna take the key with me. And we're like, sir, we need the key so we can roll the windows up or down. And he's like, that's not my problem. And we're like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I know you guys are gonna drag race it. No, we're gonna tint it, and then that's it. Like, we're gonna pull it out in the parking lot unless you want to wait, and then you're more than welcome to pull it out of the shop. And he's like, well, I'm not leaving the key here. And I'm like, well, we're not tinting it then? And he's like, okay, I guess not. And he walked out the door. Like, all right. What am I supposed to do with that? He didn't want anybody to touch his car. You can happily say most people that I've run into are not like that. There was like once. But you do hear some fun stories. All right, so how high up is this? We got to decide, are we going to hand cut this thing or are we going to use the plotter and make it easy? I had a comment in the beginning saying I use a plotter for every back window. You know how I know you're new to the channel? But it has been a little bit. Remember we cut out that Model Y, but then was short. So like here, I feel like I'm going to do the same thing. Accidentally. Do you dry shrink or wet shrink on SUVs? So wet shrinking is fine. This one's slightly more curved, so I tend to just dry shrink them all. Only the real small back windows and like truck back windows are stuff that I'm going to wet shrink because it's like really quick and easy just to snap it. It's just quick and simple. So yeah, big border on this one. All right, we'll put the light there, we'll prep it, and then we'll go from there. Oh yeah, I was gonna do that to prep it. Where's the thing? There's the thing. Dude. So I have a Wi-Fi garage door opener, and I thought that was a cool thing. Like it just came with the house, and we were like, oh, that's sweet, awesome. We thought we were just getting a garage door opener. That's a cool bonus. Anytime you use the Wi-Fi one, it goes like chirp, 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 flashes the light a bunch of times, like somebody's robbing the house before it closes, as like a warning. Reminds me a lot of these. Dude. All right, so as long as the pattern's lined up, like for plotting, it is quicker just to plot the rear quarters and the back window. There's no way around it. When you get into privacy glass, like I'm trying to look through the privacy glass, and then when I'm cutting out my pattern, I'm looking through the tint and the privacy glass to cut the same thing, which is one reason I really like, if I'm gonna hand cut it, I really like Glass 8 for this, especially. But I'm going to do that there, and I'm going to do it on the sides as well. A little easier to see on the sides, but Thanks for hand cutting. It helps me out with learning. You're welcome. The comment before it was great. Love this channel. Still have a plotter. Have a plotter and still hand cut. Pull seals and still two stage. That's right. I mean, I hope that gets the point across. Like, I'm really comfortable with the way that I install things. So, yeah, like, it's just a very well-known style at this point. If you pull seals, you typically just drop the whole pattern in. It's still, like, it's not in my regular workflow. I can, yeah, sure, I can do it. Am I gonna nail it on the first try? I mean, the only worry that I have is putting a little crease in it when I'm trying to slide the film down. But it makes the install so much easier if you can just pull the seal out and do it that way. But when you've been doing things this way since the beginning, that's just second nature for me, is just tinting everything as normal, or what I think is normal. So that's why I do it that way. Hey!
Diana Sneeberger super chatted $4.99.
Yeah, good timing.
Cool face.
For whatever reason, I'm making sure the alert went off. I didn't see it. I mean, those went off, but I didn't hear it. So something with my headphones. Thank you so much for the 5. I really appreciate that. Okay. I don't know why. Maybe I gotta set up a source again. Oh, that's annoying. There's like, the worst thing about live streaming always seems to be setting up all the audio stuff and routing everything. Because I have a headset that reads every single comment. So it also does the same thing for the alerts. So you just have to route things differently. So not everybody hears the same robot voice that I hear all day. But thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay. What do we need? We need 20, right? So let's go grab that. And we need some spray too. Is that Pro Classic 5? This is the 35. Did we put the 20 back in the box? No, we didn't. Oh, it's probably around the other side of the car. I probably just walked past it. No? No? Did I not? Where is it? Where did we put it? Want to know how things get put in the wrong box? Oh, no, it's in the right box. Cool. I do that an awful lot, though. I put things in the wrong box. Just trying to clean up quick. Oh, yeah, it's here. All right. So when it comes to a hatch, it depends on how close that top border gets to your spoiler. So I still like to dry shrink them. So that's already prepped. I'm just gonna give it a real light spray. That'll help the tint kind of grab the glass as I'm unrolling it, because you can see how much is overlapped on the top right now. So 24-inch roll, perfect size for these types of windows. Just put that right there. We're gonna pull it. And you have this little, like, I'm just gonna push this up against the spoiler. quick way to just cut this off. Like there's a bow to this, so you have to overlap the whole spoiler area. So with a tighter spoiler too, what I'll do is I'll push the film up against the spoiler, cut a little slit here, and then basically make a relief cut straight down. So this is separated, and I'll roll that back up in here, and then just put out a very small amount of blade, and then it's a relief cut, so as I trim this up in that little space, it just lays flat against the window, and it's not bunching up or trying to roll off the glass. Makes it real quick and simple just to match up a cut there. Another way to do it, it's a little harder on something with privacy glass, is just you cut along the defroster line and then just shift it up. So you're going to notice a lot of similarities between this and what we did on the windshield. But it's smaller, so it's going to be easier. We just have more obstacles in the way, like this wiper. So one thing I do about the wipers is I'll pick the film up, I'll cut a notch out of the bottom here. And then if the wiper actually stays up, which on this one, you lift up the cap, and then this wiper stays up out of your way. A lot of Fords don't do that. A lot of Fords just fall back on the window. But it's nice that they were considerate enough to do this way, because somebody actually might want to clean their windshield or their back window. Section it off, so in the middle, and then we have those little spots up here. So we're just going to shrink up right against the spoiler, basically, up here. Easy peasy. So grab my heat gun. Oops. Let's try that again. Should get one of those like locking cables. Then you don't have to do this. But there's still a fair amount of curve on this back window, so if I'm going to sit here and wet shrink it, it's just going to take more time to do. Setting up for dry shrinking is just really easy, and the shrinking part then goes much faster. So I had a question too about the Golf. This one is going to be way easier than the Golf back windows, but the Golf hatchbacks and a lot of other hatchbacks, like they're shrunk all the same. So what you can do is you cut your sides short, and then you leave lots of film on the bottom. You can leave a little extra on the top too. So what you'll do is, there's a method that's called pull shrinking. So really you're just kind of tugging on it, and you can see all this film wiggling. This is what I need to shrink. So I'm going to basically like pull it and flatten it out, hold my heat gun away, and then you're going to put heat on that area, and then it'll start to smooth out, and you won't even necessarily see shrinking it, and then you let go of it, and then it'll be flatter on the window. That's a balancing act that can take some time to get used to, but you have this little like heat wave, and once you get that film shrinking just right, it just can be real smooth. Shrinking up against the spoiler, I just do like a normal thing. So I don't like when it's bunched up against the spoiler. But it's okay to have it kind of like overlapped this way and then pressed down against it. It's not a big deal, especially on something that doesn't require a lot of shrinking. So you just shrink up against it. Or if that was overlapping that plastic bit and I wanted to create a little more space, I just pick the whole thing up, shift it down like a 1/4 of an inch, free it up from that space, and then I don't really have to worry about it. But I have that spoiler in the way, so I can't pull shrink it the same way that I did for the bottom. So on that Golf, use all this film to your advantage, and then on the top I don't think is as bad on those Golfs as what the bottom corners give people. It's really about just trying to finesse it. Lift it up off the glass, straighten it out, and just try and shrink it as smooth as you possibly can. But there's not a lot going on. Like, there's some amount of curve on this, but it's not as bad as, you know, like a windshield or anything, so it's a pretty straightforward way to shrink it. It's just more about handling the little obstacles that are in the way. So, snap that off, and the nice thing is I can see my line here. So as long as I got my line right, this should all line up just fine on the inside. We hope. I had to do a Range Rover 3 times because I had trouble shrinking the bottom corner. Ooh, Range Rover is just a tall order, man. You get a lot of dashboard in the way on that. They like have big raised windshields, like they're a lot more vertical, and the dash is kind of like sink down. There's a lot of nice cars out there that would be fun to put on the channel, but at the same time, I'm happy to not get them very regularly either, because they are just a different type of vehicle. So, oops, there's that. Make sure everything was cut nice and clean. Here we go. That's all cut. The last little bit. I'll always flatten out the edges after I cut them. We're gonna pull this off. So after I cut out my pattern on a back window that I've shrunk, I'm always just gonna take the heat gun, get it close to all the edges on the top and the bottom, not the sides. So anything that might look a little wavy, I'm just flattening it out. So when I go to install it, I don't have those little things. Ooh, look at that spider. Tried to get me. Is it possible to install a security film on top of window tint? You know, I don't know. I'd ask the company. I don't think it would have. I mean, I think it would work, but maybe not in the same way. It's probably meant to be bonded to the glass, not the tint that's on it. So it'd probably like give you some protection, but just be weaker. But I'd talk to the company. I've been trying to get rid of that spider forever. Really? Every once in a while, like I really don't see him very often, but every once in a while, it's like, it's funny. You just get one that just like pops out of nowhere. Like, ha! You're just hanging out behind the trim. Okay, so let's open this up. I remember this like horrific detail I got. Oh man, it was on like this was probably in like, I don't know, 2000. Oh god, it would have been like 2008, something like that. It was just covered in spiders, like these big nasty spiders, and it was in for a detail. That was the kind of work I used to do. Hello, Tint Studio. How can I help you? Yeah. Uh-huh. No, the last one of the year is going to be in November. Yeah. Yep. You just buy a spot right on the site. If you have any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, though. But yeah, I try and put a fair amount of information there. But yeah, you buy a spot right there on the site. Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Good. How are you? Oh. Oh, go ahead. Hello. Hello. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. I'm here. It's all on the site. If there's anything in particular that you want to know, I mean, I'd be more than happy to answer it in the phone, or I can write out a little bit of information. But like, is there anything? Uh-huh. Yeah, that would be fine. Uh-huh. All right. Yeah, no problem. All righty. You have a good one. Oh, I guess that's it. They were asking about the classes. The last one's going to be in November for this year. But a Ford dealership is probably going to pay for somebody's class, so that's cool. He always hides from me when I try and kill him. He lived by the camera. Oh, that's got to be so annoying. The spider that we got rid of lives by the camera. So then I'd imagine, like, you go to back up and there's a spider there. That's great. He's gone now. He's probably living in my floor now. He's going to creep up on me. All right, let's get this one. Here we go. Nice. Oh, let's not put that there. Oh yeah, what was I saying? I had I used to detail cars, so it was like a high school job. It's kind of how I got into the whole auto business. My dad owned a bigger auto accessories company. So then they're like, "Oh, you could start detailing cars." I'm like, "Okay, cool. That sounds great." And I get there, I'm like, "What is detailing?" And they're like, "Cleaning cars." I'm like, "Oh, that's not as exciting." I remember having this like older, like Suburban. This was like before I started tinting, and then it was probably about like, I don't know, probably about good 10, 15 years old. Thing was just covered in these giant spiders. I took a power washer to it, and it literally did nothing for the spider webs. I was like, oh, I'm just going to blast all these webs off. And they're just stuck. Like, really? Nice.
Diana
bet it's an
Sneeberger
OBS
super
sound.
chatted $1.99.
I can't hear it. Good, I can see the
Future
alert popping
Spider
up.
attacks you may deal with. Smiley face. Smiley face.
I couldn't hear the alert, so I'll have to read it. But thank you. Good, good, good. All right, this one fits much better. So let me just get this in place. How do you control dirt when peeling on the car? That's a good question. Well, you're not really picking up dirt off of the car because it's a sticker, or it's just a big piece of tint that you're putting over the dirt, and you're not rinsing down all the edges. So if you notice, I just try and lock the top, just kind of hold it in place, peel it away, and then I'm just spraying the tint portion of it. You're getting overspray, but not in a way that's gonna wash dirt back into your film. So as long as you're just careful about it, you'll be totally fine. Like it's not magic. It's not just gonna pop to the other side of the film. So in the wintertime, especially, like, you know, people are very, like other tinters, they can be very insistent about, you gotta wash your car. Oh, this one was too dirty. Your tint job's gonna be really dirty. It's like, no, you can tape things, you wipe it down, spray down the sides real quick. Like, you can do a lot just right off of the car. So when you have like a couple of doors that come in, and the car had been down a dirt road, like, yeah, it's a little annoying, but you just kind of spray it down, squeegee off the window, and then when you peel it, you just peel it, just spray the tint portion. Little overspray is not going to drip back into the tint, and you're going to have a nice clean job. You're tinting the glass, not the paint. Dina with the 2 future spider attacks. Thank you for the 2 for any future spider attacks that I might have. Appreciate it. Now I'm looking for it. All right, what are we gonna do with this one? What do you guys think? You think a 24 is gonna cover this? This and the other side? Let's see. Probably just grab a bigger roll, but it'll be close. Might be able to cover it. He's probably gonna find his way back to the camera. Yeah, right? It's just gonna take me some time. He'll just crawl up the tire and then I'll never see him again. Next thing I know. Surprise! You thought I was gone. I hope he waits till like Halloween or something. All right, there we go. We got one. We got enough? Oh, come on. It's close. Son of a bitch. Explain that. So if I do it, match it up the same way, I can't flip it because then it's opposite. If I had cut it an inch wider, I would have covered though. Unfortunately, this is no good. It's okay, I got another one. Pretty sure that's at the end. 35, 35, 35, 35. There it is. if you accidentally stepped on him. I hit him with a heat gun. It looked like he curled up a lot and then fell into like the little cracks on the floor. From there, I have no idea. Just waiting. All right, so what do we have done? We've got everything but the quarters left. Cool. Nice. Amazing. After install GeoShield, there's like cheetah prints that appear. What is that from? Like water spots? Cheetah prints. I haven't heard that one before. I'd assume like water pockets, not spots. I don't know, it depends. This is why I need to see pictures, because everybody's got a different way of describing it when they're new. If they're like white smears, then that's trapped air, that's not gonna go away. If it's white specks and lines, that's dirt, that's not gonna go away. If it's dark water pockets, those will dry out and those will be fine. All the water dries out, creases, air, that doesn't go away or get any better. Generally doesn't get any worse, but it won't get worse. It's just, it is what it is. How often do you clear out the snap blades from the floor? Maybe once a year, if that. So I can tell you, we streamed the last time we did it, so whenever that happened, there's a lot of them in the floor. So this one, I mean, it's got a like similar-ish shape to the back window, but it's a quarter window. You don't really have to do that much to it. There's just going to be a little curve. So I'm just going to curve it in a couple of those areas, and then it'll just lock in place on the inside. It's kind of iffy if you even have to do it at all, but might as well. Okay. Seat puzzle. What do we do? Do we just pull this down? Oh, nice. Cool. All right, so we got a couple of towels. We got a sprayer. And scrubby. Get our pattern. Should probably do that. I'm going to set that here. Can it be too hot to tint outside? Yeah, for sure. Like, anytime the sun is shining on the glass, it's drying everything out really, really quickly. So it gets really, like you really need to be in the shade. But then you also have to worry about the wind as well. So tinting outside is just tough. Like, there's a lot of people that go and they start a mobile, like detailing business, and you know, you still got to deal with somebody's cutting a lawn, blowing stuff in the air, kicking up a lot of dust over a car you just washed or whatever. Like, you're still battling the outside, and then it decides to rain, or in the wintertime it snows here. So you're just fighting so many things. For tinting, it's worse because any little breeze is going to pick up your tint and treat it like a kite. All right, let's see. What are we doing on this one? This way? Yeah, it should be that way. So, it's not that you can't tint outside, it's that it just makes your life way harder and miserable. So, most mobile tinters will then require, or a lot of them will require, like a garage. And then it just depends on the clients that you attract. Lots of people, or some people have garages, but they also like to fill it up with lots of crap too and have poor lighting in it. So when I was doing mobile window tinting, it really was for other companies, and it was a great way to keep a low overhead and still make a lot of money. You're just not really building up your own personal business brand. You're contracting for other companies. So it was a really nice way of doing things. I did it for a number of years. So, and you don't have to just commit to one shop. Like most shops, most automotive companies, they're not going to pull in enough work necessarily to even keep you busy all day, every day. They'll keep you busy like 1 or 2 days a week, or sometimes even a half day. So I don't think I've talked about this in a little while, so just a little refresher. I would carry film and tools. I would drive to different car businesses, and then they would line up a day for me. So they'd have a set schedule. They'd have appointments, and then they would check in the appointments, tell me what shades are going on the vehicle, and all I had to do was focus on doing the work. And they would, I'd always have a space in their shop to work, because if they don't want to upset their customers, right? Like, they set appointment times, those customers are waiting or dropping off or whatever the case. Like, yeah, they need that work done, or they're hearing it from the customer. So it was still a way to do mobile work, but, you know, when you're 100% mobile by yourself and you're not going into a shop or anything, like, you got to figure out what spot can I tint it in, what am I up against, and there's only so much work that you can typically do in a day because you got to run from one place to the next, where it was super nice being able to set up in one spot. That was my space for the day. And then they just fill up my day. And since they deal with the clients, it's a lot more efficient too. There we go. But yeah, I guess there's a couple little ways to look at it. You have opportunity costs and you have real costs. So yeah, I save money. You know, there's a speck here on the glass. That's interesting. Hang on. Stay. Cool. There's like a little carbon speck there. but it's off now. Okay, but there's, what was I saying? There's opportunity costs and there's like real costs. So when you're mobile, like real mobile, and you're tinting outside, like, depends on what area of the country that you're tinting for, but I would just hate for my business to not operate when it's raining outside, or because like a lawn company comes through, or any number of things. So it's like, yeah, I'm not spending money on rent, which is a fixed cost every month, but I'm losing potential money on things that happen around me. It's just not as clear. So they both have their real pros and cons for sure, but I have a real good outside perspective. I started in a shop, learned how to tint there, went mobile for a long time, worked with a lot of different companies, and I was definitely nervous to open up my own place. But you can kind of, like, what was really nice is I always have like 1 foot in one door and 1 foot in the other until I'm ready to kind of make that jump. So doing mobile work for other companies is something that you don't have to commit to 6 days a week. Like, they couldn't keep me busy 6 days a week. So I had 2 decent companies that I was working for when I opened up this place. And then one of them dropped off when COVID started. And then later on, so I was still tinting for the glass shop. And then I just ended up leaving the glass shop when this shop was more than sustainable. Glass shop was good money. Couple days there, I think I was averaging probably like $1,200 to $1,500 for 2 days of work there. I had a nice mobile setup. They just load me up with work, do that, and then that was good amount of money in those 2 days. And then everything else that I made out of here, like, it all supported itself enough. And then I didn't leave that place until I knew, okay, everything seems to be chugging along. Now I can take that leap. So there's definitely some creative ways that you still can be mobile and make it work a little bit more sustainably. Not have to be 100% dependent on your own thing, but the annoying part too is, like, when you're building up your own shop, any day that I was tinting for another company was a day that I was not building up my own reputation. So good money, but you're still a contractor. But you don't need to, like, you know, when I had a shop, I was like, oh, I gotta have hours and I gotta be here all the time, right? No, that's not the case. I schedule appointments, and if I didn't have an appointment, I wouldn't necessarily be here. I still take phone calls. So yeah, I'd miss out on a little bit of walk-in traffic, but depending on what kind of a spot you are. Like, if you open up and you naturally get a lot of walk-in traffic, then yeah, you want somebody to be there. But I'm around back. It's hard to find my building. I'm not getting much walk-in traffic. Hey, I love your job in your video. I always ask myself where you put the cutter when you cut the front window patterns under the seal. So when I'm cutting, like, the front windows, like, you're talking about the doors? Speaking of knife, where'd it go? Here, let me grab this one. So when I'm cutting, like, the window, so this blade's almost done. I always have a much longer one. This is at the end, but the red dot, click. You just one click up. Just one, that little bit. I poke that right in between the gap of the seal, where the seal connects to the glass. So on some of these vehicles, it's real big. So I have a lot of space here to poke in and just cut straight down. On some of them, they taper, and I'll just be right on that edge and cut straight down. So have your knife angled out. So if I'm cutting on the inside, I'll have it angled out this way. If I'm cutting on this side, I have it angled out this way. And then when you make your cut, this is a guide. So I'm pressing against this blade angled out. I'm just riding that straight down. Just a quick way to make a straight cut. That's all you're trying to do. All right, let's clean this up and then make sure everything's all touched up and be good to go. So it's normal to have touch-ups at the end of like any tint job. So you clean everything and you're just checking all the edges, any like extra water pockets, a finger that might have popped up, like I got one here. I'll take a heat gun, I'll go around it, depending on kind of what it is. But you move relatively, I mean, within reason, right? Like you clean everything, you take care of everything, you install it, and then you keep on going. During that time, any film on, the film on the edges still holds the most amount of water. Or a fair amount of water, I guess. And so any touch-ups that you're gonna have is really just gonna be about like locking and pressing edges down. So if a finger popped up, or I can touch up something a little better, it's generally just gonna be on the edges. That's mostly has to do with like back windows, quarter windows, and the little side channels on the doors. If there's something major that's locked in the middle of it, and you're pulling that off and you're redoing it. So, check all the edges, no gaps, cool. Check all the edges here, wipe it off, and that's kind of a good way to go over it. So any hard to see areas, so like I can't see this whole edge, I can just swing my head in, I gotta peek up in here. Check around the whole thing. It all seems pretty good. Doot, doot, doot. Clean off the glass. So on the privacy glass, you're really not going to see anything on the outside. It's all going to be about paying attention to the inside, because the tint sitting on the inside, that privacy glass is covering up that tint. But still, pay attention, especially on the inside when you go to wipe those down. No fingers at the bottom and whatnot. Cool. Then since we have that windshield, we also got to put that mirror back on. Oh yeah, and we got these front seals to put back in, right? That's a different thing. We usually don't have to do that. So I think you can do it with the windows rolled up, but it always makes it a little easier to do them with the windows rolled down. So on these mirrors, I'm going to post a Facebook video on how to pull these mirrors off. But now that we have it off, I'm going to show you guys how to put it back on. I look for what I call dumb mirrors. So anything with like a camera system, an ADAS system, that's a smart mirror. A dumb mirror has some basic, like a rain sensor, and like no cameras and stuff. So you still have like a light, a plug, but nothing weird is going to happen if you take it off the windshield. Camera's got to be recalibrated. So this is safe to take off. You just have a big mirror housing. But these Dodge mirrors are twist-off style. So this is for the Rams, Durangos. I think the Jeeps, a fair amount of them do the same thing. But if it looks like there's a whole lot of housing in the way, I'm not even going to mess with it. These, like, I had a glass shop show me how to do this, show me what was underneath, and then I'm really comfortable with pulling these off and putting them back on. So you line this up at an angle, and then it's a twist-on style. So just be careful. get it to lock in place. Ay! And then this, you'll notice these clips in here. So this will just press up. That's probably one of the trickiest parts to like take off on this whole thing, because it feels like you're gonna sometimes break the mirror just trying to take this little piece off, and then when you try and line it back up, you can't exactly see. You just kind of do it by feel. Oh, cool, we actually did that really well. It doesn't always go that easy. And then this top part should clip right into place on here. I just want to make sure that there's no... Oh, there's a... We don't want to get the... We don't want to pinch the rosary. There we go. So that's... They look a couple of different ways. This is one of those like dumb mirror styles. That pops off. This comes down, then it twists off. Makes that whole windshield way easier to do. So I like to not take stuff apart, but when it makes things that much easier to do and it's not too hard to take apart, that's when I take things apart. But Jose with a 5, thank you. What's up? How we doing? I keep watching and learning from your videos. Thank you. It's good to see you, man. It's been a minute. There's something wrong with my, it plays the sounds, but it doesn't play it in my ear. The audio updated before I went live. So I gotta change it. Okay, so for the door seals, for those of you that are just tuning in, we took out the door seals and we can roll them all the way down. So just to keep that quiet, we're just gonna turn that back off. So there are these sweep seals. This is what a lot of window tinters like to pull out of most cars to make installation easier. So there's this little channel that this is gonna go back onto. Oh wait, no, sorry, it goes this way. See, I don't do this that much. So it's gonna slide in this way, and then that window rolls up and get down against the seal, which is also interesting to always look at. So you have a double seal here. So sometimes when you tuck below the first seal, the second seal can catch it. So yeah, that can happen from time to time. But when we're putting these back in, you pull back on the door panel and you sneak the front edge in. See, I don't do this that much, so I'm trying to remember how I finagle this. There we go, like that. So you get that front edge on there, you start putting it down, slide it in, and then it falls into place. You press it down. And the way that it clips in, this is nice. It's got these little push pin things. So you just squeeze it back together, and bippity-boo, you got yourself a door seal all put back into place. See, this part, this is one of the awkward parts for me. It's like pulling this back and getting this channel in here. It's always a little funny for me. I feel like I need 3 hands for this. This is one of the easier ones, though. And then, hear that. Pop back together. All good to go. So let me turn that back on. Roll our windows up. I like to do that at the end, because then everything had a chance to kind of to dry out. So it's just less risk appealing, but I'm not too concerned on a window like this. But there's no reason to rush it, right? Then I'm gonna check it over, see if there's anything to touch up. Just wipe it off, and then we should be good to go. But that's the last thing about putting the Durango back together. If you pulled out a seal, it's quick and easy on these ones. The reason I pulled it in the first place, because there is, I mean, I'm assuming there's a module right here. I had a bad day a couple of years ago. Water hit a module. Pulling out the seals, a way to ensure that that doesn't happen. Put this down. Check all the edges and stuff on the windshield. And then we'll close it all up, and then we can really appreciate what happened here. All right. Actually, we're going to start it too. Everything starts. That's good. No check engine lights. That's even better. Perfect. That's what we like to see. No problems. Let's close that up. Dang. Now does that look dark? Okay, so I can see the rosary hanging there, and like out in the sun, you'll be able to see like a little bit of steering wheel on like a bright day. But for the most part, like you're just like casually looking at it. Oh yeah, this thing looks good. I really like the gray with all the black accents. That's one of my favorite vehicle color schemes. White and black, and then also like this this type of gray. Looks really good. Also, I think this is the, should be like an SRT edition, because it's got that hood. Oh, RT. Gotcha. Yeah, it's sick. Looks good. Let's pull this away. And, yeah, then I just gotta clean this place up. Canon. Woo! I gotta tighten up that headset. That thing falls over too much. Can I get a hairbrush too? It's bad. Nice. DW, what's up, man? How you doing? So yeah, that was a good one. Especially from this camera too. This one's gonna be a little bit of a better view here. Let me sharpen this up and then. Yeah, that looks nice. How do we focus that? There we go. What percent? The front shield is 35. At the glass shop, how did it work for you? 200 a car or something like that? Yeah, so it was like all the sides in the rear was actually like 180. And there was like an extra 100 for any windshield that I did. So 3-4 cars a day, plus sets of doors and a couple of windshields is generally what I do. For a couple of days, I'd you know, if it was like hyper busy, then it'd be like 1,500, I think, for the 2 days, and then generally it was like I'd get $1,200 checks from there. So it was nice. It was really nice, consistent money, especially when you're trying to start a place like this up. Good.
Deanna Sneeberger
That's the
super chatted
best.
$9.99. I love it.
Thank you so much for the 10. Glad to hear it. That means a lot, too. Yeah, this is her car, so that's super cool. Yeah, and thank you so much for all the other ones today. Let me see if I can fix my headset. I think maybe I have to restart. Sometimes it does that, where I have to restart OBS to fix that issue, but that's fine. It is what it is today. Desktop audio. Monitoring device. Wavelink. Okay. And then alert properties. Oh, okay. I probably have to restart the program. That's going to be a mess if I do that. But yeah, thank you so much. All right, so we're going to shout out some supers. Whoa, that's different. Dashboard. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Alrighty, so big shout out to Dina, Jose, Dina. Thank you so much for the support today. I really appreciate it. I mentioned the Facebook group a few times. Let me see. Can I a little farther out? I don't know. I'm going to check that really quick. So I've been putting a lot more effort into just keeping the Facebook group nice because it is just like blown up like crazy. So window tint stuff on Facebook is where it is just a giant community of window tinters all posting their work and asking questions. And so if you have questions about tinting, you're having struggles with an area or whatever, you get a lot of good feedback from people. You can post videos, you can post pictures, questions, you can show off your work, you can ask about products, you can advertise products through like videos and stuff like that too. So it's just a really good community-run group. So if there are, you know, like I keep an eye on this all the time for any like heads up on cars and stuff, like, because usually people run into problems before I do. So I'm always paying attention. Questions need to be approved now before they're published. Yeah, so we made a change. So we don't approve every question, but what we do is we approve people because the group was growing so fast, it was getting overrun completely by spam bots. So we just had a ton of junk comments and posts all day long, and we still filter them out all the time. But in there, what we found was you can pre-approve people. So if you post, then I just go through and pre-approve everybody as a poster as long as it's window tint related. And then you can just get questions in much faster that way. It's just the first time. It's just like a quality check thing. Because there's just an insane amount of people. This is growing by like 1,000 people a week. It's nuts. And yeah, look, see, I also stream here too. Can I pin that? No, I already pinned the other one. I'll just leave that. So I bring this up now because any of those like particular questions, if you have problems with shrinking, tucking film, ask them here. And then I see a fair amount of them, if not all of them. And then the other thing is that, like, I'd like to be able to get to some of these questions on stream too. So we'll keep that in mind for next time. So tag me, I'll try and keep track of it, and maybe we can make a thing out of it. But if you had any questions, this is a good place to post them. So Facebook group, super cool. And then I think that pretty much does it for today. Thank you guys again so much for hanging out. It's not all tinters in the group. There's a lot of regular people. Keep that in mind. Oh, yeah. It's for anybody and everybody. So I know I'm talking to very much like a very tinter-focused group. The group is for anybody and everybody to join that has any interest in window filming questions and stuff. There's definitely tinters that get very annoyed from a general consumer question, which I think is really dumb. Because it's just like people have questions. The more you can answer about your industry, the better for everybody. So yeah, that definitely open to anybody. So thank you guys for watching today. We'll be back again pretty soon with another one. And yeah, have a good one. I'm going to take off. Bye.